Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Birdability broadcast this morning, our Birdability field trip. I'm Dottie Head. I'm with Georgia Audubon, and we are delighted to host this field trip on our Georgia Audubon Facebook page. We also have some people who've joined us via Zoom, so we welcome you all. Should you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments or in the chat box if you've joined us on Zoom or in Q&A, and I will do my best to feed those to the presenters. One quick announcement, Georgia Audubon is going to be participating in some phone banking for Awk the Vote on 12/19 from 3 to 5 p.m. On December 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. and on January 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. So if you're interested in joining us for that phone banking, please reach out to us in the chat. We can connect you with Karina and give you some more information. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Karina Newsom, the Community Engagement Manager for Georgia Audubon, to introduce the people who are joining us today. Karina, it's all yours.
All right, thank you so much, Dottie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for our Birdability virtual field trip. Georgia Audubon is so excited to be able to partner with Birdability, which you'll hear more about in a second, for monthly virtual field trips. So we're going to be highlighting accessible trails in various parts of the country, always including Georgia, but then including some mystery cities around the country as well, highlighting the accessibility challenges that people might experience when they are outside, and getting the chance to look at birds, of course, from around the country, which is always exciting. You get to do some traveling while sitting right at home in the comfort of maybe your couch. So I am going to go ahead and open it up to introduce our guest today, and we'll go ahead and start with Virginia Rose, who is joining us. Virginia, feel free to introduce yourself to our guest today. I think Virginia's mic is on mute.
Let's try that again.
Perfect. Yep.
Sorry, guys. Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Georgia Audubon. Thank you, everybody, for showing up this morning. I'm Virginia Rose and founder of Birdability. I'm here today at Lake Creek Trail. It's a beautifully accessible trail with all kinds of great habitat. I also wanted you to see the parking space. You can see my van is right here, parked in a perfect handicap spot. And we'll be looking at trails that you can see here, pretty much cement trails throughout. So thank you for joining us.
All right, let's go over to Joe.
Hey guys, I'm Joe Watts. I'm a board member for Alabama Audubon, and I'm also on the National Audubon Society's board. And I kind of missed, we had a couple of other Alabama Audubon folks out here checking out the scene and checking out what birds we're hoping to see. Yesterday and the day before, there were some great birds out here. Right now, it looks like there's some mute swans. We're at Limestone Park in Shelby County, which is about 30 minutes south of Birmingham, Alabama. And we can tell you guys more about that later. And I'm going to flip it over to Linda, if that's okay. There you are.
Here I am. Hey. Hi, guys. I'm Linda Neighbors, a member of Alabama Audubon. And I guess I'm the birdability person today. I have an old spinal cord injury, and I also have been a physical therapist for 30 plus years. So my spinal cord injury was such that I was ambulatory with assistive devices for quite a while, but as arthritis has gotten worse in my knees, I have gone more and more to my wheelchair. And so, yeah, this is a great sight out here, and we are glad to be with you guys. So if the rain will come on through, we might actually see a bird or two. You never know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll go head over to Freya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Freya McGregor. I'm at Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest, which is in Kentucky, not that far south of Louisville. It's cold and wet here today, but there's a few birds around. I've got my husband Patrick here helping me spot birds, and I'm an occupational therapist. I'm part of Birdability with Virginia, and I have a dodgy knee, which is a very unmedical diagnosis, but no medical specialist can tell me what's going on. So we're going to stick with dodgy for now. Something's up with it. I have some trouble walking sometimes. It's kind of achy and sore, and there's trails that I can't manage some days, and some days I can. So accessible trails are really important to me, and knowing what kind of a trail it is, if it's a rocky, rugged trail or if it's one that's paved with a few benches, that's really important information for me to know if I can manage it or not. So I'm looking forward to finding a few birds today with you.
Awesome. And so I'm going to go ahead and just quickly describe where I am. Again, my name is Karina Newsom. I'm the Community Engagement Manager with Georgia Audubon. And today I'm at Panola Mountain State Park, which is about 30 or so minutes south of downtown Atlanta on a 100-acre granite outcrop. So a really cool kind of natural feature. The parking lot here at Panola Mountain State Park at the trailhead is gravel, but it is paved in the areas where there is handicap parking for 2 vehicles, along with lots of space around those spots in case there is a ramp for either of those vehicles. And the trails themselves are paved. I'm going to turn it around for you here. There are several miles of paved trail here at Panola Mountain State Park, along with several bridges. And the bridges do have a banister that's usually about 3.5 feet tall. Something to keep in mind when you're thinking about your vantage point. There are also kind of off-road trails here at Panola Mountain that are mainly dirt or gravel paved, but there are lots of paved roads as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Virginia. If you wouldn't mind telling everyone a little bit about the work of Birdability, as well as Freya, the work of Birdability and kind of some of the work that you're doing nationwide to make the outdoors and outdoor exploration as accessible as possible.
Is it Virginia?
Yeah. Am I unmuted?
You're good.
You're unmuted.
Oh, okay. All right. So I just wanted to say a little bit about Birdability. It was probably 2.5 years ago when I decided that it was time to bring birding to as many people who had mobility challenges as I could possibly find. So I started off with that mission. National Audubon picked it up immediately and really essentially gave me the platform that I've had for the last 30 months to help bring people into birding. It has really taken off. Birdability captains have been established across the country. We have about 22 birdability captains now, representing about 15 or so states, and Toronto and Chiapas, by the way, one of the newer ones. So I'm very excited about the ways in which Birdability is reaching people who have all kinds of accessibility challenges, and it's gone from mobility challenges to access now. Access in all ways. Access for people who have low vision or blindness, people who have various mental conditions that keep them from being able to access birding the way anybody else could. Access for people who have autism, access for people who are coming from all different walks. Ooh, that's a weird word. All different areas. Anyway, so we are now in the position of making Birdability available for all kinds of people, and it's just going nowhere but up. I also want to give a big shout out to my Admiral Freya, who has really picked this organization up and moved it in fast forward for the last 4 months. Thank you, Freya. Do you want to say a few words about Birdability?
Sure, thanks, Virginia. Yeah, so Birdability, the other big group of birders or potential future birders, which is anybody who doesn't yet realize they're a birder, are birders who are deaf or hard of hearing. So yeah, anyone who has something like me, a dodgy knee that's not diagnosed, but it impacts their ability to access birding in the outdoors in the way that they would like. So anybody who has accessibility challenges, where we want to try and enable them by advocating for accessible trails, sharing accessible trails via the Birdability map, which you should check out via the link at birdability.org, our new website, and creating guidance documents and resources for bird clubs and Audubon chapters and bird outing leaders to empower them to reach out and partner with local, maybe the local School for the Blind or a local veterans organization or or anybody who might experience an accessibility challenge. So we're really excited. Things are kicking off. It's exciting times. So yay, Birdability.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Oh, go ahead, Freya.
I was just going to say, while I've got you, I'm just going to flip my screen over. I'm on the Nursery Loop Trail here at Bernheim. It's asphalt. I would call that bitumen in Australia, but I'm told this is called asphalt in this country. It's nice and wide. It's more than 32 inches wide, which is really important. That's about the biggest width that a wheelchair or motorized mobility device might be. So it's nice and wide, and it should, in fact, it should be more than double that so that people can pass each other on this trail. There's a few benches, although there's a bench like way over there, which is not really close to the trail. There's been a good few birds around this morning. There's a few Carolina chickadees, and I've heard a Carolina wren. We had a couple of mallards before, and cedar waxwings flew overhead. So and a bunch of Canada geese. So that's fun. Oh, and a great blue heron. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Can I interrupt and we have a question that's come in from somebody who has some visual impairment, and she finds it difficult to spot birds even through binoculars. People have told her she should quit birding, but she wants to know if she should, because she says it soothes her. So somebody please give her some advice on how she can keep birding. I was going to suggest ear birding, because that's a great new pastime, but you all are certainly the experts. So who can take that?
I'll jump in there. Thanks for asking that question. Please don't quit birding. Birding is awesome. Birding is for everybody. Birding by ear is really awesome. Most people who are fully sighted bird by ear in some way or another. You know, you hear a bird and you're like, oh, what's that? Even if you don't know the sound of that bird yet, or to ID it by ear. There's a lot of birders who are totally blind who go birding. One of our friends, Jerry Berrier, is totally blind. He's been birding since the 70s. And if you go to our website, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more work with Jerry and like really learning a lot from him so we can pass it on to everybody who's interested in this stuff. But there are lots of ways you can go birding by ear. On our website, there's a link to during Birdability Week, which was in October and was massively supported by National Audubon. We had a panel discussion, and Jerry Berrier was one of the panelists, and he talked a little bit in there about how he goes birding, so that might be worth a watch. You definitely shouldn't give up birding. There's always a way, and being out in nature, you know, there's so many health benefits to being out in nature in whatever way that is. So please don't give up birding. And if you wanted to reach out to us, the contact information is on our website. I'd love to connect with you and send you some more encouragement and see if we can find a way to make sure that you can keep going birding, because birding's awesome.
And I've listed the websites and the links that you sent Freya in the comment boxes, so people should be able to find them there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, I just now had a small flock of brown-headed nuthatches that were in this tree above me. Of course, they all move very quickly. I'm trying to see if I can be quiet enough for you all to be able to hear them. They sound very literally like squeak toys. Like if you were to go in PetSmart, find the dog toy section and squeak away, that is exactly what they sound like. And so here in the Southeast United States, where brown-headed nuthatches are found, they've actually been listed, unfortunately, by the National Audubon Society as climate endangered, because they're pretty limited to living in kind of the longleaf pine ecosystems down here. And as it gets warmer and warmer, they're not going to like that. They have a pretty low temperature threshold for what they need to survive. And as cooler temperatures are moving north, as you have to move north to find cooler temperatures, the habitat they need isn't really up there. So there's kind of a disconnect between the habitat they need and the temperatures they need. So we're lucky to be able to see and hear brown-headed nuthatches here in Atlanta, Georgia, and here in the Southeast. So I'm not sure if I heard someone jumping in there, but I see that Joe has at least the landscape around where they are right now. Joe, are you seeing those mute swans you mentioned?
The mute swans are on another pond, slightly south of us, or slightly away from us, not far, but we're kind of under a cover right now, but the rain seems to be letting up a little bit. but I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the location that we are in, Limestone Park. It's a small Tupelo gum swamp, kind of one of the northern spots for that in Alabama. And we've had some amazing birds here. We've had everything from a really common roseate spoonbill to wood storks just this last year. We have nesting anhingas here. None today, of course. We have a mockingbird right now, very exciting. But we let's see, what are the other birds that we've had? A northern harrier here. We had a long-billed dowitcher recently. Probably 15 minutes ago, we had one of the northernmost limpkins spotted. Maybe about 15 minutes drive from here about a year ago. So it's and I think locations like this are super important for birds, and they're going to become more and more important for birds as the climate continues to change, because these northern outposts are going to become more valuable to the birds that have to move north because of climate change. One of the other things, I think the history of this location was it's a location that's been owned by, I'm going to flip from seeing me, which is not particularly lovely, to seeing the actual location. And talk this park has been owned by the city of Alabaster for a number of years now, and it has been a radio controlled plane location. And this little swampy area has just been kind of forgotten and not dealt with. And Alabama Audubon, about 7 years ago, approached the mayor of the city of Alabaster, and we talked about this location and said, we'd like to volunteer to pay for the ramp and the viewing platform that hopefully you guys can see here. It gives access. It's probably not more than 8 feet off the ground, but it provides a way to see into the swamp that otherwise meant you had to wade through a lot of just grasses and things. We also created a little meadow where we planted native wildflowers and other native grasses, which has been real popular and I think has helped to bring the birds back. One of the benefits of doing this, other than just giving people access to a location, is it's put a physical piece of building on this property, and it turned it from, I guess about 3 years ago, the city of Alabaster decided they wanted to make this property a location where they could stage their trash pickup and a couple of other things and maintenance. And it was really concerning. And I think if this platform had not been here, we would have lost this property. But the platform being here made enough people love this location to fight for it and make sure and give it a voice. So being a voice for birdability is also being a voice for the birds. But does anybody have any questions about this location?
Hey, Joe, I'm just wondering if you might ask Linda. I see that she has a walking cane in her wheelchair. So I wonder if you could ask her a little bit about that and how this location means she can go birding.
Sure. Linda, did you hear that question?
Yeah. You may have missed it a little earlier. I was saying that I have an old spinal cord injury that was incomplete, and for many years I was really ambulatory with just a cane, and as the arthritis in my knees have gotten worse, I've gone to 2 canes, and now I'm using my chair much more. So it's really nice to have the ramp to get up here to this height, because otherwise you really can't see over the grasses into the swamp. And I do come out here sometimes with my father, who's 89 and elderly and very mobility limited, and we just sort of car bird some. We'll go by the pond, we'll, sort of drive up here into the grasses. And so even just from car birding, it works fairly well. And you can see a lot of the birds. And it's really nice in June when the prairie flowers are blooming in this huge patch, and it's just this riot of color. And so, yeah, it's very helpful to me to have the ramp. I would never be able to get close to this swamp without some sort of accessibility. So it's nice. even though, as we said, probably for a lot of people, the sight line on this railing might not be the greatest, but it is at least open enough. You know, you can kind of go underneath if you have to. It's not optimum, but it can work if you need it to. Known to, you know, climb up onto the rail and sit with help. So that get up really high if my knees up for long.
You all, we've had a couple of more questions come in. Joe, they'd like to know what you all are hearing at the Alabama location, and somebody got onto the question about how do you view birds in the shrubbery and the grasses? What's the best way to get them to pop up so you can see them?
Can I just interrupt really quickly before we get to Joe and that question, just because we've got to an interesting spot on this trail. So I haven't actually done this trail before, so we're all discovering this together. And I was told when we arrived that this was one of the accessible trails, but there's a really big difference between like accessible trails and actually accessible trails. There's a lot of access considerations that need to be kind of conformed to. We have a bit of a rundown of that on our website, birdability.org. Under the guidance documents, there's access considerations, and that will explain a bit, if you're a bird outing leader, for example, what you need to be looking for when you're deciding if that trail or birding location really is actually accessible to folks. But I just got to this spot on the trail. It was an asphalt trail, and here we're walking along, and oh, suddenly it's not. I didn't know this. The sign didn't tell me. The person didn't tell me. The brochure didn't tell me, and I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I can walk that, but that's sort of not really the point. And not everyone, just because I can do it, doesn't mean everyone who has an accessibility challenge can. So I just wanted to throw that out there into the world, that just because someone tells you it's an accessible trail, that's why the Birdability map is so helpful. If you know of an accessible birding location, anyone can go and pin that on the Birdability map, and there's a little quick survey like with checkboxes so that we can have all that really detailed technical accessibility information in one place so that anyone can get to it if they need to. So sorry, I just wanted to interrupt about that as we're here on this trail.
Freya, I wanted to comment right here, because this is a really important point, that as you continue along that trail, I want you to try to determine as best you can, you know, with an OTI, how accessible is the dirt trail. Because if the dirt trail is hard packed, some people will be able to continue it. And that is exactly the kind of information that needs to show up on our map. Just because it's crushed granite, just because it's dirt, doesn't mean it's inaccessible for everybody. Thanks.
Yeah, right. And so that's why on the Birdability map, when you submit a little Birdability site review to pin a location, we ask you all those questions so that anyone can determine for themselves if that trail is one they can do. We're just continuing on it now, and it suddenly got a whole lot steeper. That doesn't look very steep on my phone, I know, but you know, that impacts accessibility for a lot of folks. So yeah, sorry, Joe, it's back to you. What are you hearing down there?
Can I pop in here just to let you know what we're seeing here in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So we have seen and or heard, what do you say, a dozen birds?
Yeah.
We were met with a Wren this morning, bunches of blue jays, maybe 12, 10. We saw a big great-tailed grackles, maybe 25. We have
Cooper's
heard
hawk.
Carolina wren. A Cooper's hawk flew right over our parking lot. Turkey vulture just flew over. We had a
Ruby-crowned kinglets.
cardinal. We had ruby-crowned kinglets. We've had
American goldfinch.
American goldfinch, and a bunch of yellow rump warblers are smacking in the background. Okay, on to you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm trying to, there we go. So far, we've not heard a whole lot, but what we've heard, I guess we've heard some cardinals, and wrens, and a blue jay. The best bird we've probably seen so far today was a northern flicker, which is the state bird of Alabama. So that was kind of exciting. You'll know the male by the little mustache that he has. It's kind of my favorite bird of all. I love a mustache, even though thankfully I do not have one. My wife would say. But that's most of the birds we've heard. We've seen bluebirds. We had the tea kettle of Carolina wren earlier. That's about it. It's really pretty quiet right now. The wind has kind of picked up. We're at probably 10 or 15 mile an hour wind. It looks like some folks out here are seeing something though, so I'd be curious to know what they're seeing. But one of the things that I did want to point out that in related to birdability, this bench at this location is super important. For some people can walk 100 yards without any problem, but they really need a spot to rest. And knowing that a bench is every 100 yards or so, here comes a train, can really make a difference in the ability of somebody to enjoy birding outside. So I think in addition to the surface, making note of the benches and the other amenities that are located along at the site or on the trail is really important. And I like to know how a trail works in terms of birding from your car, because being able to pull up and look at a beach scene or a lakeshore scene from the automobile and having maybe a car-mounted spotting scope can make a real difference. So, Linda, do you want to add anything to that? All right, I'm gonna. Yeah, we'll wait till the train gets going, and then we'll turn it over to you guys for now.
Speaking of birding from your car, today the forecast was for rain, and we woke up and it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds, and I thought that's the perfect condition to do a live virtual bird outing. And so the backup plan was to come here to Bernheim, but do broadcast from the car because we didn't want to get rained on for an hour. And there's a big lake here and there's a lot of Canada geese out there. So we were going to just show you a whole bunch of Canada geese, but birding from a car is still birding. That counts. So like, if that's how you bird, that's awesome.
And for those of you who are just joining us, I just wanted to let you know this is a partnership virtual bird outing between Georgia Audubon and Birdability. And these virtual bird outings exist to highlight accessible trails, people who experience accessibility challenges and their experience in the outdoors, and birds from all around the country. So today we have represented here Atlanta, Georgia. We've also got some other folks in different parts of the country. If you wouldn't mind just really quickly going ahead and saying again where you are in the world and the general accessibility of the trail on which you are traveling today, just very briefly. Virginia, we can start with you.
All right, I'm sorry, I totally missed the question.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just really quickly, reintroducing all of us and where we are in the world. So the city, state where you are, your name, just to give people, to reorient people who may have just joined partway through our live today.
Oh, okay. Celeste, should I be on self now? Sorry, guys. Shouldn't I be on right now?
You want it on self?
Yeah. I don't know where it is.
While Virginia's getting organized, I'll just jump in.
Sorry.
To give you, are you ready?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to do too much.
There you go.
Okay. I'm in Austin, Texas. I am on the Lake Creek Trail. And I just wanted to give you some idea about how wonderful that I should do it out of the sun. So you can see this really great, I hope you can see this really great sidewalk. And we are looking at right now in this beautiful view I have, and I can't show you because I'm not digiscoping, but I have American goldfinch, and we have ruby crowned kinglets, and we have Buick's. Helen, what do you have? Great blue down in the creek. I'm getting some other friends to weigh in. Okay, to you, Freya.
Hi everyone, I'm Freya McGregor. I'm coming to you from Bernheim Forest and Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest, which is in Kentucky, about an hour south of Louisville. We're on the Nursery Loop Trail, which I hadn't been on before. Unfortunately, not quite as accessible as I'd hoped, but that's all right for me. But it's good to know, and I'll be sure to put all the information about it into the Birdability map so that anyone who wants to can determine for themselves if this is a trail they'd like to tackle.
right, Linda and Joe.
Let me interrupt with another question for Freya or Virginia. Somebody is asking if you recommend a straight or angled scope for car mounting.
Okay, that's a really good question. Actually, I would like to have two scopes. One would be a straight scope so I can use it on my car mount. I actually I have a scope, a vortex scope with a sort of an uplift eye, and it ends up that I have to raise my seat so far that my head is hitting the top of my van as I'm trying to crane my eye over the scope and into the view. But so I need a straight scope for the car mount, and I definitely use the scope that has the upturned eyepiece for my wheelchair, and I attach that scope to a handy dandy little platform, and it sits directly under my eye.
I'll just jump in there. So as an occupational therapist, some small flighty bird. As an occupational therapist, I do a lot of work with adaptive equipment and stuff. And so I would just say with the scope question, I don't have a scope myself, although I would love one. It depends. Oh, it's a Carolina Wren. That preference would depend on you, I think. And so if you're able to try out both kinds of scopes in a car, maybe a local store that sells optics would let you like try them out a little bit. I'm sure they wouldn't let you have them, but just in the car park or something, you might be able to see what works better for you. And so I think what Virginia said makes so much sense, but it may just depend on you. So if you can try it out, do that.
Awesome. Great question. Linda and Joe, do you want to go ahead and kind of ability very quickly of the trail and location that you're birding from?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
We're just going around and reintroducing ourselves for people who may have joined after the original introduction, saying where you are in the world and a brief description of the accessibility of the place you are.
I'm Joe Watts with Alabama Audubon and the National Audubon Society Board. We are at Limestone Park in Shelby County, which is about 30 minutes south of Birmingham, Alabama, the largest city in the state. And we're watching a variety, well, not a really variety of birds. We're watching about 4 or 5 species of birds. We do have an American coot out in the water there. It's a little far to see, so I haven't been able to get it in my camera. But one of the other things that I was going to mention is accessible trails are awesome. And one of the challenges is just because it's called an accessible trail doesn't mean it's accessible. I know people have been touching on that. Linda says amen to that. I was at one of my favorite locations, Wheeler National Wildlife Refuge, yesterday. We went to pick up kittens. That's another story, but kind of an exciting one. But on the way there, we stopped at the Beaverton Tower, which is a platform, and at the Beaverton Boardwalk, which is a lovely boardwalk through a sort of similar swamp to here. But it's got a nice gravel, pretty hard packed trail, probably about a third of a mile in, and then it hits a boardwalk, and it's a nice boardwalk that is pretty well built and nice and easy to access, except for the actual access to the boardwalk. It's about a 2-inch bump up right at the boardwalk where the boardwalk starts from the gravel trail. So I was really disappointed. I've been chatting with the park ranger, and they are working really hard to do that. And they're actually talking about rebuilding the trail. So, I mean, the boardwalk. So that's exciting. But it's just that little tiny bump to me, as somebody that has not really any access problems, that turns that really wonderful trail into the depths of the swamp into something really, really problematic. So.
Hey, Joe.
Uh-huh.
Once you start talking to them about the boardwalk, please make sure that they make some changes to the railings.
Okay. This one is actually, the location I'm talking about, the boardwalk, is different than where we are now.
Oh, okay.
It's about half north, and it actually doesn't have railings. So it's really, other than the fact that you can, fall off.
Okay.
It's really nice. It's very wide.
Okay.
Say it again, Virginia.
I'm sorry, Virginia.
I'd rather fall off the boardwalk than not be able to see through railings.
That's sort of what I thought. That's what we felt. I mean, it's got railings at a couple of locations where the water is deeper, but when it's it's not but probably a foot off the ground. So and in those locations there's actually no railing, but there is a bump that keeps you from it would be almost impossible to get over. So have you ever visited there, Linda?
No, not that particular one, but it's, it makes you think of close to here, probably 5 miles as the crow flies, there is an area called Ebenezer Swamp, which is a beautiful swamp with a wonderful boardwalk through it. But in order to get to the boardwalk, you have to go through a very grassy field, thick grass, and then you have to go down a trail that, though it's wide, it is, there's tree roots that you have to maneuver over, and if it's been raining, it can be very muddy. I think actually one of our Audubon members who was in a power chair got stuck in the mud out there one time. It was not pretty. And so it's great if you can get to the boardwalk, and there again, it's got, a lip probably this high that you've got to bump up over and onto the boardwalk. So it can be problematic unless you've got somebody or more than one somebody is helping you, depending.
Yeah, and I love that location. Other than that, it's a terrific location in the spring. It's almost guaranteed place to see prothonotary warblers. They breed there in the summer, and it is a fantastic location. And it is, but it's a real disappointment, and it's sad to know that someone got stuck there. And it has been, the boardwalk itself is very accessible, but the access to it is a real challenge. So.
Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in. Oh, walking past some wind chimes, making some pretty noises. I just had a lot of excitement. So it wasn't quite what I thought it was, just so that you don't get too excited. But Bernheim has a pair of golden eagles that spend the winter down here, and they've been spending the winter here for at least 5 years. The folks at Bernheim have tracking devices on the male and the female. They didn't know, just because they spent the winter here, they didn't know if they were also a mating pair. And it turns out that they are. The tracking magicalness showed that both individuals, they set off from here on the same day, going completely different directions. And the first year they thought, oh gosh, they mustn't be a mating pair. And then they ended up way up north in Canada. I think the story is they arrived at that same place together within an hour of each other, which is kind of insane when you think about the distance and the fact they were completely separate the whole time. Yeah, it's wild. So they're named Harper and Athena. I haven't seen them here, but we just heard a sound that sounded kind of like maybe it was a golden eagle, and got very excited, except that it was a blue jay hanging out with a mockingbird. So false alarm there, but it sounded pretty epic. But yeah, there's the golden eagles of Bernheim. It's actually really neat, and there's a Dottie, I think, has a link to she might share in the chat for you all. There's a link to a story about them and
Can I jump?
information. It's really cool.
We're hearing something really cool that I'm going to see if y'all can pick up. We're hearing pine siskins. And they have this really cool call that it's like a zipper sound, ascending. It goes zzz. I'm going to see if we can get close to it here.
Carolina Wren on the left.
Of course, it's going to stop since we made Freya stop talking. Darn it, we're not hearing it now.
I heard it. I heard one.
Color blue jays in Texas mimic systems.
Oh, Virginia said to tell you that in Texas, our blue jays will mimic the siskins also, but we definitely heard pine siskins.
I'm going to jump back in. Interrupt me if you hear them again. I'm just at a little overlook of a little kind of pond, and I just wanted to show these railings because there's lots of different ways you can create barriers and railings on boardwalks and overlooks. And these with this thick wire, it allows a lot of people to see. And then the top bit, the thickest bit is maybe 3 inches high. So even if that was right at your eye line, you've probably got half a chance of being able to see above or below it. Sometimes that top bar is really, really deep, and it's going to really mess with your ability to see over and actually see the thing that you're supposed to be able to see. So this is a really great example of how to do this really well. So I just wanted to point that out while I was here.
Hi, how are you? Cute puppy.
I just now, actually, since we're all doing a lot of birding by ear at the moment, a red-shouldered hawk just flew over. And kind of on the topic of blue jays, despite not being technically, mockingbirds or parrots or anything, they are stellar mimics, and will oftentimes have you thinking you're hearing one thing when in fact you're just hearing a blue jay. And here in Georgia, we so frequently get blue jays mimicking red-shouldered hawks, which is, you always kind of have to, as you hear it more often, you kind of get to hearing, okay, that was a blue jay pretending to be a red-shouldered hawk. But red-shouldered hawks are absolutely beautiful, stunning birds. They're my favorite raptors. They've got some beautiful black and white stripes on their wings. Hear that? Yes, beautiful stripes on their wings. They've got a nice red breast, and they're oftentimes found near water, right? They like to hunt prey that are found near water. So you'll see them near wetlands, near streams. So if you hear a loud bird of prey near some water and you're in the Southeast or in Georgia in particular, you might be having a red-shouldered hawk on your hands. Okay, Virginia, are you seeing something cool over there?
And you're unmuted.
Oh, I actually don't have anything to report right now. Let's go to Freya or Joe.
I also, really quickly though, there were 2 things. One, can you tell them about the special towhee that you saw last week? Because for me, that blew my mind. So could you tell them about that real quick?
Yeah.
Wait,
The
remind me.
The green-tail towhee?
The green-tail
Yes.
towhee? The green-tail,
Yes.
oh, the green-tail towhee in Arizona?
Oh, you were in Arizona. That's right.
Yes. Yeah, we have them here
That's
occasionally,
right.
but they're always like, yeah, such a cool bird. You hear chickadees here and Carolina wrens and pine cisterns, and no green-tailed towhees here yet, though. I'll let you know when they come.
We're hearing a Carolina chickadee. We don't have black cap chickadees here. They look almost identical. The ones we have here are Carolina chickadees. And they move constantly though, so I can't get them in the scope to show you a close-up.
That's right.
Yeah, I've been hearing some Carolina chickadees.
Yeah, and I thought I had them too, and then you said you had them. So I was looking around like, where are the chickadees? But no, that was just me hearing your chickadees. That's excellent.
The second thing that I wanted to ask if you would bring up, I believe, Virginia, I heard you talking about this during Birdability Week this year. So kind of on the topic of, when you are on a trail, especially a trail that's labeled as accessible, and you find some element of it that creates an accessibility challenge for people. I know, Virginia, you were able to have some success in, contacting the people, and Joe, you just described as well. Would you mind kind of just telling people, why it's important for them to share if they see an accessibility issue on a trail that's labeled as accessible or otherwise, how you can share that information with the people who can do something about it and the success that you've had doing that?
Oh, right. All right. So I'd like to just talk for a second about a really wonderful place in the valley. This is the best example, I think, Karina, of what you're talking about. I went down to the valley and went to a McAllen Nature Center. And the woman there told me she wasn't sure how accessible it was, and I told her I'd let her know. And so after a couple of hours wheeling around there, I made some notes and came back and talked to her. And I always basically begin that conversation in a really happy, joyful way, sharing with them all of the ways in which that trail met my needs and all of the ways in which it was so satisfying. And then I very happily move into the joyful, the joys, I call it the joy of improvement. And I just talk about the ways in which, with the help of their communities, that we can make this site a little more accessible for everybody. So what I do immediately is brainstorm with them, people, organizations in the community that would be very willing right now to step up and contribute to helping make that site one of the, what do we call it, one of the highlights of the community, especially since EDI is such a big buzzword, a buzz phrase, a buzz concept right now. The point is that we make it a happy, constructive, and joyful conversation. There's no contempt, there's no condemnation. It's all good. Thanks.
And I'll just add in there, on the Birdability website, under guidance documents, there's a template to advocate for accessible improvements in your local community. So it's based off a letter or an email that Virginia had sent, and another one of our friends, Sarah Midler, who both separately had sent emails to a local nature center or park saying, hey, look, I really love this place, but this thing just wasn't accessible, and this is how I would suggest you might think about improving it. And both of them had success. Both places were like, oh gosh, thanks so much for telling us, like, we really appreciate it, and they fixed it. So there's a mashup of those two letters and it's a template. You can download it as a Word document, fill in all the bits, the park you're at, your name, all that stuff, and email it and see what happens. You never know, you might change the world.
And also, you guys, you know what we're finding? This is just a very happy byproduct of the Birdability map, that maps are now, or locations are now contacting me and saying, we want to be on the map. What can we do to be on the map? And I say, I would love to have you on the map. I'll do whatever I can to help you get on the map. But these are the things we need to address before that can happen.
Yay!
Hey guys, I'll throw one thing out in terms of that, and I've worked in the tourism industry for a number of years, and one of the key ingredients is I think most people that talk about their trails as being accessible believe confidently that they are accessible, and they want them to be accessible. So if you find a trail that's labeled as accessible and you tell the people that call it an accessible trail that it's not perfectly accessible, they're probably going to want to fix it. And one of the reasons is that if 10 people find something that they like at a location, they may tell somebody, ooh, I think somebody's digiscoping something there. So, but if 10 people tell you, I love this place, you might go there. But if one person tells you it's terrible and it's not living up to the expectations that you have, it really hurts the location a lot. So I think people want to make sure people, are happy and enjoying their location. So that's just sort of a little aside there. We're hearing a Carolina wren fuss at something, and we're watching an American coot dive in and out of the water, but every time we try to focus on it, it focuses on the grass. So we haven't been able to show you yet.
Thanks, Joe. I just learned something.
We have a ton of activity from, oh, go ahead. Okay, I'll go real quick. I am surrounded by a cacophony of Carolina chickadees and Carolina wrens right now, who, of course, now that I'm talking, are completely silent. That's just what birds do, right? When you need them to sing and call, they don't do it. But there's a lot of activity going on right now. And I will say, if you are in the Atlanta area, I'm at Panola Mountain State Park, which is about 30 minutes south of downtown Atlanta. And this park is a really incredible location, especially during migration for warblers, even during the winter for sparrows and kinglets, like golden crown and ruby crown kinglets both. And the trail here is paved for several miles. And just to show you, it is a pretty wide trail. If I had to guess the width, it looks like it's about 8 or so feet wide. And there are parking spots available for people who experience accessibility challenges. There are 2 handicap spots. The parking lot is gravel, but the spots are paved that leads directly to the trailhead. So I would definitely encourage you to come check it out. Freya, I knew you were about to say something, so go ahead and jump in. Sorry about that. We started talking at the same time.
No worries, no worries. The birds trump whatever I was going to say. I was just going to say thanks, Joe, because I just learned something there about how to advocate for accessibility improvements from your experience in the tourism industry. I'm definitely going to be sending an email to the lovely folks here at Bernheim about the trail that I just wandered along this morning and suggest some improvements they may like to make. We're just walking past some very scenic, I call them portaloos. I'm from Australia, so I say things different. I know you all call them different things, but I know this is like super not that interesting, except that I'm just really pleased to see that there's, you know, a regular sized portaloo, and there's the extra big, more likely to be more accessible one. And I think that's great. I think if you have one, you probably should have both. And I'm not going to show you inside because you'll probably know what a portaloo looks like on the inside, but it, you know, it has enough. The reason they have to be so big is so that folks who have mobility devices like wheelchairs or walking frames, there's enough circulation space in there for them to get around and maneuver around to transfer onto the actual toilet, and grab rails to help them do that. So that's great to see. I'm really pleased that I'm seeing that. I also wanted to point out the benches. I'm on a different trail now, just below the visitor center, and there's a whole bunch of benches along here, which is lovely. But if in an ideal world, these benches, it would be paved, where, like, you know, the trail that I'm on is paved, but then you go onto grass to get to the bench. And if you have, if it's muddy because it's been raining like it has been today, or, you know, that's actually not the most accessible. It could be, or it could just be pulled back a little onto this super wide trail, and it would be easier for people to get to. So just pointing that out. This little pond, so Bernheim, I'm going to shout out the forest giants. There's 3 forest giants at Bernheim. Forest giants, they're like trolls. I think they're trolls, but they're called forest giants. They're beautiful wooden structures, sculptures even, made from recycled timber. There's 3 different ones. The trail to get to the 3 of them is not accessible. Sections of it are a little bit, but I'm just over here near little Nils. He's over there. I'll see if I can get a bit closer to him, but he's gazing into the water, just enjoying his reflection. I know there's a bunch of turtles and stuff in this pond. I don't know what species they are, I'm sorry, but yeah, kind of fun.
Joe, do you have something in the camera? Oh, maybe not. Okay. I saw his camera pop up. Yeah, so one thing that I would definitely encourage, and has been said already, but I wanted to reiterate, Birdability has an incredible number of resources for making the outdoors, birding, outdoor recreation accessible. Oh, Downy woodpecker, right on cue. That was great. Thank you. So making the outdoors more accessible for everybody. And I want to encourage everyone, whether you have an accessibility challenge or not, to really dig in and participate in that surveying. Birdability has partnered with National Audubon to basically have an interactive map, so that if you're at a trail or if you're at a birding spot, you can submit a survey about that location, so that someone who, for example, wants to know if a trail is accessible for someone in a wheelchair, they can know that before they go, and they can be aware of the places that are accessible and have more access, therefore, to nature and outdoor exploration. And it only takes like a couple of minutes to do. So if you're outside birding or just walking around, pull out your phone and real quick submit that survey. It's on Birdability's website. It's very easy, and it has such an incredible impact on the accessibility of the outdoors and of birding. So I definitely want to encourage you to, again, visit birdability.org and take a look at those resources, specifically the map where you can submit surveys about the accessibility of a trail.
Hey, can I say something?
Yes.
That becomes especially important. I was in Seattle 3 years ago, and I called Seattle Audubon before I went, and I asked them about accessible trails, and no one had any idea what trails were accessible. One person guessed at Discovery Park, so I got on a public bus and rode for 45 minutes to Discovery Park, only to find that it was completely inaccessible. So this is a perfect example of how important it is to help people know where the accessible parks are before they go.
And just to thank you, Karina, just for that big shout out. So just in case there's any confusion, so the Birdability map is where you can read about the different birding locations that have been pinned there. In order to pin a location, you complete a Birdability site review. The reason that I'm pointing this out is because we also, right now, until the 15th, you've got 3 days, there's a Birdability Birders survey, which is also linked on our website, which is actually about the people, not the location. So if you experience an accessibility challenge, we really want to hear from you. And the Birdability Birders survey is asking questions about what sort of things make a place accessible for you, so that and what things need improving not just at accessible trails, but also in the wider birding community, like maybe you're deaf and you really like tuning into your local Audubon chapter's webinars, but they don't have closed captions. That makes it inaccessible. We want to hear about that so we know where to focus. So just a shout out for that, Birdability Birders survey until December 15th. I also just want to quickly shout out, I'm wearing the brand new Rogue Birders Birdability Braille Bird On hoodie. I'm being laughed at by Virginia and by Chris at Rogue Birders because I haven't actually taken it off except to go to bed since I received it 2 weeks ago. We just partnered with Rogue Birders, who are super awesome. You should check out their website and their Instagram and their Facebook page. Really cool group of people shouting out and highlighting diverse birders and birders who are helping contribute to birding and conservation. And all the funds that were raised from selling these hoodies and t-shirts are coming to us for Birdability, and they'll be available again next time Rogue Birders open their store. So it's super cool. It says bird on in Braille on the front. And so someone who reads Braille wouldn't be able to read this, but that's okay. This is actually really for sighted birders or sighted potential future birders to come and ask and be like, hey, what's that thing on your shirt? And you can start talking about inclusivity and diversity and accessibility in birding, and it'll be a great conversation. So really cool.
I want our next garment to be pajamas for Freya.
yes, then I can wear 24/7. That's a great idea, Virginia. I love it. Chris, Rogue Birders, if you're listening, there you go. There's the next idea. Here I am. I'm just showing you because it's fun. Here's little Nils, the forest giant, enjoying his reflection in the pond. There were a couple of mallards out here earlier. They seem to have headed off. We've had a belted kingfisher out here before and a great blue heron. So really nice.
I'm going to jump in. This is Virginia and Celeste. We've been hearing a red-bellied woodpecker flying around us. He keeps moving before we can get our eyes on him, but it's just a great example of how fun it can be to a bird's ear, because we can hear it even though we can't see it. So, we know it's up here, and that's exciting.
And just as the birding does seem to be picking up here a little bit. We just had 2 gulls fly over. I'm thinking they were herring gulls, but I'm not sure. And we just had a belted kingfisher come through, so that was kind of exciting. And we got something over there, and a black and maybe a red-winged blackbird there. But so that was kind of fun. But blue jay.
I know we're getting close to time. I just want to mention that these Georgia Audubon and Birdability accessible virtual bird outings will be continuing every month. All across the country, like Karina said at the start, highlighting different accessible trails and different birders who have accessibility challenges. And I'm really looking forward to learning from different birders and going birding in different places without having to go very far myself. I'm really looking forward to it. So huge shout out to Georgia Audubon. This is super cool. And if you're watching this, it's probably not helpful information, but we are going to have the recordings of these available via the Birdability website. So that's going to be really great too, and kind of a bit of a resource as well if people want to learn a bit more or delve a bit more into that. So check out our website. There is lots of good stuff on it. We're working really hard to get more up there so it can be a really great resource about inclusion and accessibility and diversity and birding at the outdoors. So I just wanted to mention that before time's up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Freya. And to let you know, we are scheduling these monthly virtual bird outings with Birdability on the 2nd Saturdays of the month. And so the next one is going to be on January 9th. So you'll be seeing information get distributed about that, who we'll have on, where they'll be birding from. And again, it's really cool to not only be able to, of course, hear about and maybe even see if the birds sit still, the birds that you can, see across the country if you ever get the chance to visit these locations, but also talk about the various perspectives of people who experience different accessibility challenges when we're outdoors, because that is a very essential, central, and important part of making birding and outdoor exploration accessible for everybody and all kinds of people. So I do want to thank everyone who is a guest today. Freya, Virginia, Linda, and Joe, thank you so much for joining us, and Dottie for hosting this, and Celeste.
Karina,
yeah.
can I just interrupt and say that we are recording this as well, and we will download the recording. Of course, the Facebook Live portion will stay live on our Georgia Audubon Facebook page, so anybody can watch it, but we'll also download it and put it on our YouTube channel and share it with you guys so that y'all can put it wherever you need it.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone. Oh, yes, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, just one last quick thing. Just I wanted to mention that this location is on the Alabama Birding Trails program. There are 280 locations around the state of Alabama, and we are working really hard to document the accessibility of every trail in Alabama as best we can. So there is a website, alabamabirdingtrails.com, that you can find a lot more about birding in Alabama. So come on over.
I'm putting up a link to that website right now, Joe. Hold on. Bear with me.
And my final farewell, I just had a ruby crown kinglet getting chased by a golden crown kinglet. I've never seen them chasing each other before. They just flew right in front of me into this some kind of a cedar tree. I'm not very good at plants, but that was really awesome. So finishing on a high note over here.
Amazing. We love ending on some bird drama. Virginia, did you have anything that you wanted to say? I saw that you unmuted.
Yeah, yes, I wanted to say, wait, is it over? No, we're just beginning. We got another hour or 2 or 3 on the trail. Thank you.
I know.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Freya. Thank you, Joe. It's fun.
Thanks, y'all. This
Absolutely.
is great.
Looking forward to seeing you next month. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, y'all.